0517 local time. The forward radar console updates without warning. One contact becomes 2, then 4, then 8. On the bridge, no one speaks at first. Ahead, the ocean looks flat, steel gray, and empty to the naked eye. But on the screens, the picture sharpens fast. 8 surface contacts. Line abreast. Bearing staggered. Speed rising. Condition 3. The order is calm and needs no explanation. Watertight doors cycle. The ship's posture changes in a way only the crew can feel, marked by little more than the muted sound of steel shifting under boots. This is routine, right up until it isn't. The ship holds course, radar tracks tighten. Closest point of approach calculations refresh every few seconds and the numbers begin moving the wrong way. 8 contacts are not random traffic. They are shaping an intercept. Electronic support measures begin logging brief emissions, short bursts, controlled power. Someone on the other side is checking for a reaction. Contacts closing, multiple bearings, no raised voices, no rush. On a U.S. Navy bridge, urgency appears as precision. Hands move, eyes stay forward. The ship does not turn. On the surface plot, wakes spread like chalk lines across dark water. 8 parallel scars converging. Speed steadies in the high 20s. Formation discipline is clean. Professional identification resolves one by one. Russian Navy. The name is entered in the log. Nothing else changes. Distance falls below 10 nautical miles. The water between hulls shrinks by the minute. The wind over the bow carries no engine sound, but the vibration is there, faint and steady through the deck plates. A junior watchstander calls out a bearing. Another confirms it. Track numbers stack neatly on the display. No clutter, no ambiguity. The ship maintains speed. Long-range optics swing out and lock onto silhouettes that are still more geometry than detail. Dark shapes against a brighter horizon. Hulls low in the water. Superstructures compact. No flags visible at this range. Bridge-to-bridge radio calls go out. Textbook wording, international cadence. No reply. Silence answers back. The 8 contacts adjust spacing. One edges slightly ahead, testing the angle. Another lags just enough to add depth to the formation. It is no longer a line. It is becoming a box. Pressure applied from multiple vectors at once. The captain watches the plot, then the horizon, then the plot again. He never raises his voice. He does not need to. The ship's systems are already ahead of the moment. A deck mount rotates a few degrees. Not enough to threaten, just enough to be seen. The wake behind the ship remains straight. Electronic signatures flicker again. Brief, controlled, logged, time-stamped, stored. Every pulse is evidence. Every choice is on record. Distance to CPA drops below 5 nautical miles. On deck, sailors are already at their stations. No running, no shouting. Helmets checked, lines secured. To an outsider, it would look like an ordinary watch. That is exactly the point. The ocean stays calm. The sky offers no drama. Everything is happening in numbers and intent. One of the contacts increases speed by 2 knots. Another mirrors it. The formation breathes, tightens, then steadies again. This is not confusion. This is coordination. 8 surface contacts. Formation holding. The report is clipped and final. The ship does not deviate. At 4 nautical miles, geometry matters more than distance. Angles begin to decide outcomes. A degree of turn now would rewrite the whole picture. The captain knows it. So does whoever is watching from the other bridges. No one blinks. On the plot, 8 wakes are fully formed now, bright against the darker sea. 8 arrows pointed inward. The box is nearly closed. The radio stays quiet. The ship holds line, holds speed, holds discipline. This is the moment before anything changes, when intent is obvious, but action has not yet arrived. When steel, training, and restraint all lean forward at once. No alarms, no dramatic signal. Just 8 ships, 1 ship, and a narrowing strip of ocean between them. The sea does not care. The numbers keep counting down. 0524 local time. The formation tightens. On the surface plot, the 8 contacts begin to arc inward. No longer parallel, no longer passive. Each ship takes a slightly different vector. Spacing measured. Angles deliberate. This is not pursuit. It is containment. CPA recalculates again. Closest approach drops below 3 nautical miles for 2 of the contacts. Another slides to port, altering its bearing just enough to complicate the picture. The box is taking shape. The ship stays steady. Bridge-to-bridge calls go out again. Same words, same cadence. International protocol, nothing extra. The radio responds with static and silence. That silence matters. On the bridge, the officer of the deck tracks the lead contact with a fingertip against the glass. The motion is slow and controlled. He does not need to look back at the captain. The posture of the ship has already been set. Electronic support measures catch another burst. Low power. Directional. Someone is testing range without fully committing. The signal is logged, filtered, time-stamped, then gone as quickly as it appeared. No reaction. On deck, sailors shift their footing with the swell. The sea is calm, but the wakes ahead are getting brighter and thicker. 8 ships pushing hard enough to carve visible scars into the water. One contact edges closer than the rest. Not yet the nearest, but the most assertive. Its bearing drifts a fraction toward the ship's bow. Contact adjusting course. The report is acknowledged. No commentary follows. The ship maintains speed. Long-range cameras resolve more detail now. Angular superstructures, dark hulls, deck-mounted systems silhouetted against the horizon. Still no flags, still no lights, just steel and intent. Spacing compresses. 2 ships settle on the starboard quarter. Another pair holds wide to port while the remaining 4 keep pressure dead ahead. The geometry is too clean to be accidental. Someone planned this. At 2 nautical miles, reaction time shrinks to minutes. Out here, decisions become irreversible very quickly. A turn now could be read as concession or provocation, depending on the angle. The helm stays centered. A subtle order moves through the ship. Stations checked again. Doors secured. Nothing dramatic. Nothing visible from the outside. The box tightens another notch. One contact surges briefly, then settles back into formation, as if confirming a limit. Another mirrors the motion from the opposite side. The movement is coordinated enough to be unmistakable. The radio remains quiet. On the bridge, the captain finally speaks. One measured sentence. Hold the line. The words are almost unnecessary. Everyone already is. Electronic sensors catch a faint sweep. Search radar. Low dwell time. Careful. It is not yet the most serious kind of lock, but it is close enough to be intentional. Logged. The ship's posture does not change. At 1.5 nautical miles, perspective shifts. Hulls that were once geometry become mass. Their presence is felt even without sound. 8 separate pressure fields pushing water toward the same center. The ocean narrows. A deck mount adjusts again. Barely noticeable, just enough to track motion. It is not aimed in a dramatic way. It is aligned. There is a difference. On the forward deck, sailors glance up, then return to their work. No one stares. Staring wastes time. The formation breathes, opens by a hair, then tightens once more. The pressure box is complete now. 8 ships holding angles, speed matched, distance controlled. This is the test. Who turns first? Who blinks? Who breaks the geometry? The ship does none of those things. Another radio call goes out. Procedural, recorded. No response. The closest contact crosses inside 2 nautical miles, then steadies. Its wake flares white. The angle stops changing. For 5 long seconds, nothing moves except the sea. Then the lead contact hesitates, just slightly. Speed drops by a knot. Almost imperceptible, almost deniable. The box still holds, but the tension changes. Everyone on the bridge sees it. No one says it. The ship keeps its course, cutting straight through the center of the pressure. This is not about brute force. It is about who controls space without ever touching it. The box has not opened, but it is no longer tightening. 0531 local time. The ship does not accelerate. It does not turn. It does not answer pressure with pressure. That choice becomes visible immediately. On the surface plot, the 8 contacts adjust again, each one compensating for a reaction that never comes. The geometry they built depends on movement from the center. Without it, their angles begin to lose meaning. Electronic support measures flare briefly. Another probe, narrow beam, short duration. A quiet question, hoping for a loud answer. There isn't one. Every emission is captured. Direction, power, frequency, logged without comment. This is not theater. This is record-keeping. On the bridge, the captain's eyes stay on the horizon. His hands never touch the console. He lets the ship do what it was trained to do. Hold. Below decks, the Combat Information Center hums at a controlled pace. Track numbers are stable, bearings update cleanly. No spikes, no panic, just data flowing into structure. Contact behavior unchanged. The report is purely factual. Then a decision moves through the ship without needing to be announced aloud. The next step is presence, not confrontation. The helicopter crew is already strapped in. The flight deck comes alive in silence. Chocks are pulled. Rotors begin to turn. The blades cut the air with a sound that carries farther than any radio call. The aircraft lifts cleanly, nose down, accelerating low over the water. It does not rush. From the surface contacts, the helicopter is impossible to ignore. It is not reckless. It is not evasive. It is simply there, an extension of the ship's awareness. The aircraft holds a steady altitude parallel to the formation, sensors already active. Optical systems lock onto hulls, decks, and superstructures. Faces are reduced to shapes. Movements are cataloged. Nothing is missed. A green laser pulses once, steady and unmistakable. It touches the bridge windows of the nearest ship. Not a threat, a marker. We see you. A broadcast follows. calm, standard, recorded. No answer comes back. The helicopter maintains distance, matching speed, orbiting wide enough to remain safe and close enough to be undeniable. Every second adds clarity. Every frame becomes evidence. Below, the 8 ships still hold formation, but not as tightly as before. Small corrections begin to ripple through the line. Micro adjustments. Not coordinated now, not confident. The pressure shifts. One contact drifts half a degree off its earlier heading. Another compensates late. The symmetry that defined the box begins to fray. On the bridge, no one acknowledges it out loud. The ship continues straight through the center of the space they tried to control. Electronic sensors catch another emission, slightly stronger this time. Still careful, still probing, still logged. The helicopter swings to the opposite side of the formation, keeping its orbit smooth. The laser pulses again briefly, then goes dark. The message has already been delivered. This is not escalation. This is documentation. At 1.8 nautical miles, the nearest contact eases its throttle. The wake shortens. It is subtle, but physics does not lie. Speed reduction, 1 knot. Another contact follows, then another. Not synchronized, not announced. The box begins to loosen. On the radio, there is still silence, but it has changed. Silence can sound confident. It can also sound uncertain. This silence leans toward the second. The helicopter holds position for another full circuit, then climbs slightly and widens its orbit. It never crosses bows. It never forces a maneuver. It does not need to. The ship never changes speed. This is what restraint looks like when it is trained. No alarms, no warnings, no sudden moves, just steady posture, forcing the other side to choose between collision and reconsideration. At 0540, the surface plot tells the story before anyone says it. The 8 contacts are no longer converging. Their bearings are drifting outward by fractions of a degree. Small changes, but enough to matter. The pressure box has cracked. Not broken. Cracked. The helicopter turns back toward the ship, still recording, still watching, still calm. The deck crew is ready before it arrives. Every motion is rehearsed as the aircraft recovers. The ship's profile remains unchanged. Course steady, speed constant, wake straight. No one celebrates. There is nothing to celebrate. This was never about winning a moment. It was about proving that noise does not move steel. Discipline does. And out on the water, 8 ships are starting to understand that. 0546 local time. The first change is almost impossible to notice. On the surface plot, one contact drops by a single knot. No announcement, no radio call. Just a number shifting where it was never expected to. A moment later, another contact does the same. Not in unison, not by design. This is reaction, not control. The ship stays on its line. All 8 hulls are still there, still close, but the geometry that once defined them is beginning to come apart. Bearings open by fractions of a degree. Spacing begins to stretch. The pressure that had been building inward now starts leaking away at the edges. The ocean notices before the bridge does. Wakes shorten. The bright white scars behind 2 of the ships soften from hard lines into gentle curves. Water reveals the truth early. Speed reduction observed. The report is logged. No one adds anything to it. The helicopter remains overhead, now holding a wider orbit, sensors steady. It does not chase the shift. It simply lets it unfold. Its presence stays constant, not demanding, just enough to remind, never enough to provoke. Another contact eases back. Then a fourth. The box opens. This is still the point where everything could go wrong. A sudden turn, a delayed correction, a bad read of someone else's intent. Any one of those could collapse distance faster than anyone could answer it. The bridge knows that. So does every other bridge within 2 nautical miles. The ship changes nothing. A radio transmission finally breaks the silence. Short, formal, careful. The words are procedural, nothing more than a statement of presence. No accusation, no demand. The recorder acknowledges it, and the quiet returns. On the plot, the lead contact drifts another degree outward. A small change, but no longer deniable. The old line abreast is gone. What remains is a loose arc, no longer centered, no longer closing. The ship moves through the space that used to be controlled. On deck, sailors keep working without looking up. Lines stay tight, hatches remain secured. This is what control looks like when it is practiced often enough to become second nature. Nothing changes because nothing needs to. Electronic sensors go quiet. No more probing, no more whispered questions in the dark. Whatever answer was being searched for has already been delivered. At 2.5 nautical miles, the nearest contact turns a few degrees away from the ship's track. It is not a retreat. It is a concession without language. Another ship follows, then another. The formation does not break all at once. It unwinds one hull at a time, as though none of them wants to be the first to let go. The helicopter climbs slightly and drifts farther out, keeping all 8 contacts in view. The camera keeps rolling. Timestamps continue to advance. Nothing is missed. The ship's wake stays perfectly straight. At 0553, the surface plot tells a different story than it did 20 minutes earlier. The 8 contacts are no longer closing. Their vectors are pulling apart, spreading into open water. Distance grows by tenths of a mile, then by full miles. The pressure box is gone. What replaces it is space. No signal marks the moment. No command announces it. It simply happens when one side refuses to be moved. The ship continues on its original course, cutting through the last of the churned water. Behind it, the sea smooths itself quickly as if the tension had never been there at all. On the bridge, the captain gives a single nod. Not a signal, just recognition. The helicopter turns inbound. The recovery pattern is already set. The deck crew is ready before the skids touch down. The aircraft settles, rotors slowing, sensors still powered until the final second. Everything is recorded, every bearing shift, every reduction in speed, every hesitation. No one talks about winning. There is no need. There is only completion. Out on the horizon, the 8 ships continue to drift apart. Their wakes thin, their angles widen. They remain visible, still present, but they are no longer shaping the water around them. The ship does not watch them leave. It does not need to. It holds speed, it holds course, it holds the line. It never left. The turn already happened, and it did not come from the ship that stayed steady. 0612 local time. The ocean closes behind the ship. First the wakes disappear, then the disturbed surface smooths over. Steel gray returns to an even calm. From the bridge, the horizon looks unchanged, as if nothing ever crossed it. But inside the ship, everything has been captured. In the Combat Information Center, tracks are archived, bearings are finalized, speed changes are plotted against time. Every emission, no matter how brief, carries a timestamp, a direction, and a signature. No one rushes. Precise work never needs to. The ship remains at Condition 3 for a little longer, not because the danger remains, but because transitions matter. Procedures are relaxed in the same order they were tightened. One station at a time, one system at a time. Watertight doors cycle open. Helmets come off. Gloves are stowed away. No one congratulates anyone. This was not an achievement. It was execution. On the bridge, the officer of the deck reviews the log. The captain stands beside him, eyes moving between the screen and the sea. He does not spend time on the contacts now drifting miles away. They are already becoming irrelevant. What matters is the record. The helicopter footage is reviewed briefly. Angles are clean, distances are confirmed. No aggressive maneuvers. The laser pulses are visible, controlled, unmistakable. The aircraft never crossed a boundary it did not have the right to cross. That matters later. Below decks, the crew slips back into the rhythm of the watch. Coffee is poured. Checklists are completed. The ship returns to the quiet efficiency that fills the hours between moments like this. Outside, the 8 ships are still there, but farther off now. Their formation is gone. They are individual hulls again, each leaving its own wake, each holding its own vector, each carrying its own decision. They do not follow. The ship continues on its original heading, speed unchanged. There is no course correction to mark the end of the encounter. No ceremony, no final signal, just continuation. That is how moments like this end. Not with noise, but with absence. No alarms, no dramatic broadcasts, just the quiet certainty that space was defined and then held. In the log, the encounter fills several pages. Time, distance, behavior, all of it factual. No loaded words, no interpretation. That can come later, if it comes at all. For now, the ship moves on. The ocean does not remember pressure. It remembers passage. The water behind the ship is already no different from the water ahead. From a distance, no one would know that 8 armed vessels once tried to shape this patch of sea. That is the point. Professional restraint does not announce itself. It leaves no wreckage, no spectacle, only data and outcome. Somewhere beyond the horizon, 8 ships turn onto separate headings. Their task unfinished, their question answered without a single shouted word. They tested a boundary. The boundary did not move. On board, the watch changes. New eyes take the same stations. The instruments show the same calm sea they always do. To anyone stepping onto the bridge now, it looks like nothing more than another morning. And that is the final proof of success. Not dominance, not spectacle, continuity. The ship holds speed, the ship holds course, the ship holds nothing else. The wake disappears completely. Ahead, open water.